Alright, I got in a fucking costume for this one, so you know I like it. What is Jennifer's body about? Basically, a young high school hottie is accidentally sacrificed to Satan through a miscommunication where the people that were sacrificing her thought that she was a virgin. She's not a virgin, and so the result is the demon kind of enters her body, and it needs to feed on humans to give her power. I'd love to get into it. Let's go! We open on a house. It has a horse in the yard. I don't think that that's relevant, but it does. You see Jennifer Check laying in bed, eating her hair, and watching workout ads. She hears something outside. It's revealed to the audience that there is someone outside. It's Amanda Seyfried, and her character's name is Needy. She says, "Hell is a teenage girl." And truer words have never been spoken. We then get kind of a flash forward. Needy is in what looks to be like a mental hospital or a prison. She claims that she get lots of letters. She is famous in some capacity. Apparently she's very infamous in this hospital for being violent. She's known as the Kicker. We see an example of this when, I guess, one of the nutritionists at the hospital comes up to her and asks her why she only ate a Toast-'em for breakfast. And she says, "I like Toast-'ems." And they said, "Well, that's not enough." And she says,
"I recommend you shut the fuck up."
It kind of goes into this scene of the yearbook for their high school. She's saying essentially it wasn't always this dark. So her introduction to Needy is not exactly what her character is like in this movie. She's talking about how, oh, it wasn't always like this. We used to be our high school yearbook pictures. I love the yearbook opening in the beginning, the transition between the pictures into real life. I thought that was such a fun transition. And just looking through this yearbook, I don't know, it just makes me feel very nostalgic for high school. And I really love this transition into the flag scene, one of my favorite scenes. She just looks so beautiful right there. We see Jennifer. She is a flag twirler. A lot of people, she's technically she's a flag girl. Okay, it's actually very difficult to do, but they don't get enough credit. So flag girls out there and boys, I see you. She's a flag twirler. She's a total babe. You know, she's a hot commodity. We hear in Needy's voiceover that a lot of people don't understand why a babe like Jennifer would be friends with such a dork like Needy, but she says that sandbox love never dies. So basically, they've been friends since they were kids. It's just one of those things, and after we get through the plot, I really want to explore the friendship between Jennifer and Needy. It's such an interesting dynamic, and I think it's very real to life in a lot of ways. A lot of people don't understand female friendships, especially when you're in high school, and the dynamics are weird, and I think that that's represented really well in this movie. Another student in the stands notices that Jennifer and Needy are to each other, and she says, "You guys are totally lesbi gay for each other." Needy denies this, but we are setting the stage for maybe some more, I don't know, bi curiosity. I also really want to point out that Jennifer uses some very cringy, odd lingo in this movie. I cringe almost every time I hear them, but it's part of the charm of the movie, I think. And I think 2008, 2009, we were sounding like that. Jennifer is inviting Needy to a rock show later that night where Jennifer has her sights set on the lead singer of the band. She says he's extra salty. Another one of those weird Jennifer lingo things that cringes me out.
Lead singer's extra salty.
Needy says, no, I have actually plans with my boyfriend Chip tonight. And Jennifer just kind of squints at her, and she changes her mind. She says, "Okay, I'll go." Another point for that weird friendship dynamic we'll talk about. Jennifer says, "Wear something cute." Needy says that means something very specific in Jennifer speak. It means you can't upstage her. You need to blah, blah, blah. There's all these unspoken rules or spoken rules in their friendship where it's basically Jennifer is in the spotlight. Needy is there. She should be grateful she's there. And it's all about Jennifer. Needy's needs don't matter. While Needy is getting ready for the rock show, her and her boyfriend Chip have a very awkward conversation.
"Those jeans are hella low. I can almost see your front butt."
This is my rock look.
Well, I can see like your womb, so.
yeah, I don't think that you can see her womb. A little bit, yeah, you can't see her front butt. I like Chip because he knows who Phil Collins is. All right, so they get to the club, which is actually this piece of shit dive bar called Melody Lane. Once they get there, we kind of explore Jennifer's relationship with men a little bit. There's a football player there who's showing her attention. She looks completely bored and just over it. And so she's expanding her horizons to something a little more exotic in the form of indie rock band from the city. We also have a surprise Chris Pratt here who plays a cadet in the police, like he's training to be a police officer that she hooks up with sometimes. And yeah, thanks Chris Pratt. She gets so frazzled in front of the band, like she gets very childlike and like, oh, I don't, like, she seems very out of her element because she's usually the one holding all the power. But now she's relinquished that power to them, and you can see her insecurity and her nervousness just in this scene where she's talking about how she's gonna go get them shots. Needy overhears the band talking about how they're sure that Jennifer is a virgin because in small towns like this, women like Jennifer, girls like Jennifer, always project this sexy sex kitten kind of persona, but they're always the virgins. That's what his rationale is about this. And Needy overhears this, and she comes up to them thinking that she's going to defend Jennifer by saying, you know what, actually she is a virgin, even though she isn't. She's sticking up for her friend. She thinks these guys are pieces of shit for talking about women like that. And so she thinks she's coming to her aid, but actually it ended up being the thing that's going to kill her.
Hey, that's my best friend that you're talking about. She is a virgin. And that beats sleeping with creeps like you.
Guys look at each other like, bingo, we got our virgin, because they're not actually trying to have sex with Jennifer. They want to sacrifice a virgin to Satan. So they have confirmation now that she's a virgin, so they are going to try to sacrifice her to Satan, and it's not going to work because she is not a virgin. She's not even a backdoor virgin.
I'm not even a backdoor virgin.
I want to point out this moment here while the band is playing and the girls have this kind of moment and they're holding hands. In the process of seeing Jennifer being so starstruck by these low shoulder guys, you see this fall on Needy's face, like, oh, her attention is elsewhere. And she kind of gets distant and takes her hand back. And I think that Needy's acting in this scene is really good because you read all of that on her face. All of a sudden, a fire breaks out at Melody Lane, and it is spreading fast. How did it spread so fast? Why is it spreading like this? Do we have alcohol on the walls? I don't know. But it's spreading fast. And it's a bad fire. Like, people are dying. People are burning alive. It's actually kind of a hilarious fire because it's so over the top. Girls managed to sneak out through a window in the bathroom. And the lead singer of the band, who actually is Seth Cohen, who I mentioned in my last video, from the OC. He shows up like fucking Julian from the Trailer Park Boys.
Thank God you guys are alright. I've been looking everywhere for you two.
And he's like, hey, you guys, I was looking for you. It's not safe here. We need to get somewhere safe. And I think the safest place is my van. Hear me out. I think the safest place is probably my rapist van. Needy is like, no. Jennifer seems like she's either having a PTSD episode or she's in a trance, like a demonic trance. I don't think she is in a demonic trance because it isn't mentioned ever again in the movie. I think she's just in shock. Anyway, Jennifer does agree to go into the band's van because she's into them and she wants to do it, and Needy's trying to talk her out of it. And she's like, just shut up. So she gets in the van, and there's this scene where the guy is shutting the door. It's kind of in slow motion, and this last shot of Jennifer's face before the door closes is just heartbreaking because it's really like that last moment of like, I know I shouldn't be here. Something bad's going to happen and I can't stop myself, and I can relate to that a lot. I've been in situations like this a lot back when I was actively drinking. I would just get in the car with anybody. I would just meet people out on the street and decide I'm going to spend the rest of the night with them, hanging out, whatever. It's an adventure. It's not always an adventure, okay? Sometimes people want to do you harm. Anyway, so that last look on her face is pretty heartbreaking to me, just because it's like, oh, she knows she shouldn't be doing this. And I think that's actually our first image of like true Jennifer without all the bullshit, you know, like just a vulnerable little girl who's insecure and scared. Once Jennifer leaves with the band, Needy just kind of panics, goes back home, calls her boyfriend Chip, explains what happened, and then while she's talking on the phone with him, she hears something downstairs, and she goes to investigate it, and it, through a series of spooky events, ends up being Jennifer. She doesn't look good. She's got blood all over her face. She looks scary as shit. As she starts going through the fridge, she tears apart this Boston Market chicken, and then she starts throwing up black goo that turns into needles and spikes. On her way out the door, though, she pushes Needy up against the wall, does this weird, like, kissy thing with her neck. It's very sexual, which is another point in the Needy Jennifer bisexuality attraction column. I just want to say I love the makeup and how just creepy and weird Megan Fox looks while she's smiling like this. I think it's awesome makeup, and she looks really, she just has a face, it's gorgeous. She has a face that's really creepy when she's smiling like that. I really like it. We have a flashback scene to Needy and Jennifer when they are children in the sandbox. Sandbox love never dies, as you know. Even back then, Jennifer is kind of dictating the friendship to Needy. Like, this is the doll you're gonna play with. You have to be the ugly one. The next day at school, Jennifer shows up and she is looking fucking hot. She looks better than ever. Needy's confused because she was up all night scrubbing black vomit out of the linoleum, and Jennifer doesn't seem to remember that at all. In fact, she's acting completely different than she was the night before when she was all bloody and disgusting. Oh, surprise! J.K. Simmons is their teacher, and he has a hook hand. I don't know what else you need to like this movie. What else do you need? So while teacher J.K. Simmons with hook hand is talking about the tragedy that happened at Melody Lane last night, Jennifer is acting very unfazed by it. Like, it doesn't matter. And not even unfazed by it. She's actively making fun of it. And Needy tries to broach her about what happened last night at Needy's house. And Jennifer's just acting like she doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm honestly not sure if she doesn't remember or if she's just pretending not to remember. I don't know. There's this goth character named Colin Gray who is friends with Needy, who comes up to make sure like she's okay because he heard that she was in the fiery trenches the night before. And we kind of get a comment from Needy's boyfriend Chip about why she's friends with him. She's just like, I like him. He's in my literature class. He writes really good. He's a nice guy. And I have to tell you, guys like Colin in high school, my type. I never dated a guy that looked like that just because they were in short supply where I was, but I always wanted to. We then go to a scene where Jennifer approaches one of the football players who was friends with one of the guys that died in the fire, and she's saying, oh, you know, I was one of the last people to see him before he died. She says, actually, the last thing he said to me before he died was that you and me would make a really banging couple. And he's like, I think that is what he would have wanted. And she's like, come with me into the woods and we'll make you feel better. He's like, yeah, that sounds good. And so she walks him over into the woods and she starts kind of making out with him and stuff. And he starts noticing that all these animals are watching them. So she eats this guy. She eats him good. And J.K. Simmons is walking to his car and he hears the screams and he's like, just let it out, kids. Just let it out. This movie has some actually really funny parts. We have a scene between Needy and her mom, who I think is Amy Sedaris. She reminds me of Amy Sedaris. If it's not Amy Sedaris, this woman could play Amy Sedaris in the biopic. They're listening to the radio and they're hearing that Low Shoulder, the band that from Melody Lane, is actually doing really well, and they are rising in popularity after the tragedy. J.K. Simmons goes into the woods to make sure the kid he heard screaming and venting and letting it out is doing okay, and he discovers the mutilated body of this kid. We then have the iconic swimming scene where Jennifer is swimming in the lake to wash all the blood off. This scene was in all the trailers. It's gorgeous. The thing with this movie, too, about Jennifer's body is that they never actually show you Jennifer's body. She's never nude. It's always implied nudity. It never really shows you a lot. And I appreciate that because I think that a big message in the movie is about the abuse and just disregard that people have for Jennifer because she's physically attractive. Jennifer calls Needy. She's now boosted up by the blood of that football player boy. She's feeling great. She's feeling powerful. She's burning her tongue and nothing's happening. She says, I'm a god. She's feeling herself. Needy's talking to Chip on the other line, and Needy's kind of had it with Jennifer. She's being really weird, and she's talking about how she's having the best days of her life when meanwhile everybody else is depressed about the multiple deaths that have been happening in the town and the post-traumatic stress I'm sure that one would feel from even seeing another body burning alive like Needy and Jennifer did. So she's a little irritated with her about her outlook on the tragedy. Needy's on the other line with Chip. Jennifer starts getting, I guess we could call it jealous, and she starts telling her, you know what, Chip has been looking really good to me lately. And that's just fucking... Once she turns her sights onto something that you have... Ooh. Alright, about a month goes by and Low Shoulder has become the official anthem of the tragedy in the town, and they're really rising in popularity off of the back of this tragedy. And Jennifer is starting to look gross for Jennifer, which is still more attractive than 99% of the population. So there's that. But yeah, she's looking sluggish and tired and greasy, dusty and crusty. We learned that the band is doing a benefit concert in the town, and 3% of the proceeds will go to families in the area. That's right, 3%. Thanks, guys. That's gonna do a lot. Really appreciate that. Needy calls it out, and everybody turns on her. They're like, the band is a hero. They're heroes. Shut up. We love them. And so nobody's seeing things clearly at all, except for Needy. And yeah, it's not going to be a good situation. Jennifer is bored and starts going after guys that Needy likes. And maybe she's feeling Needy start to pull away from her. And so she's going to do something to kind of regain the power dynamic in that relationship. And she starts going after Colin, the goth kid that she knows Needy is friends with. And she agrees to go on a date with him.
There's a midnight showing of Rocky Horror at the Bijou.
I don't like boxing movies.
She gives him the location for the date, which is this rundown, I don't know, it looks abandoned. Major abandoned vibes. And so either Colin is incredibly naive to think that this is actually where she lives, or he's willingly naive so that he can sleep with her. And I honestly don't think that's it, because he seems like such a sweet guy, and when she starts trying to seduce him here in a second, he is kind of resistant to it. I'm not sure. I don't know. He's a teenage boy after all, so maybe it checks out.
This isn't really her house, is it?
He comes into the abandoned creepy house, and there's all sorts of candles lit, and she's playing I Wanna Love You. So she starts kind of seducing him, and he says, do you even know my last name? And she's like, oh my gosh, you silly goose. I've been sending you signals all year. Couldn't you tell? We're going to play mommy and daddy in here. And he seems off-put. She does start ripping him apart and eating him. At the same time that this is happening, Needy is also having sex with Chip. They're having sex. She sees like blood start to drip from the ceiling. And it kind of leads into this vision where she sees the dead body of the football player in the chair, and she sees Jennifer crouching over him with her bloody smile. And she starts freaking out, leading Chip to stop having sex with her and to make sure she's okay by asking, was I too big? Every high school boy asks this. And you're not too big. It's fine. So Needy panics and flees Chip's house, goes back to her house. She's just having like a full-on episode because all of this shit's getting out of hand. On the way there, she almost hits Jennifer in the road, or a image of a vision of Jennifer. She's not sure. Once she gets back to her room at home, she gets into bed and Jennifer is there waiting for her. They begin to make out passionately, and eventually Needy's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, stop. What is happening? Jen starts going into this long explanation of what happened that night at Melanie Lane, which essentially the band drove her to a location in the woods. They are tired of being an indie band. There's too much competition. They need to do something big. They need to do something drastic. They're going to have to sacrifice this girl to Satan. How else are you going to get famous? That's classic. You know, they're tying her up and she's begging with them not to do it. And I mean, this whole scene is so funny. Adam Brody, he's so funny in this scene. It's such a funny scene. Ultimately, they do sacrifice her, as we know, because she's a demon now. And obviously it didn't take. So now she's just existing kind of as this in-between slash demon slash teenage girl. And I'm not really sure where Jennifer stops and the demon starts. I think it still has shades of Jennifer, or at least the shades that she publicly puts out. Jennifer explains basically the whole thing that happened, and that now that she's this version of her, she eats boys because it makes her look better, it makes her feel better, she gets powers from it. Her power was stripped from her from the assault that happened with the band. She had no power in that situation. And now that she has some power, I feel like she's using it to take out these high school boys and they're innocent high school boys. They haven't done anything wrong to her or otherwise. I think it's just like more of a societal statement, you know, that basically all men and all boys have put her in this box, yada, yada, yada. But I think it goes deeper than that, because I think that she doesn't go after the band. She doesn't hunt down the band and kill them now that she has these powers, because she still feels the weight of their power over her. She's scared of them. She's an insecure little girl who's scared. And the only people that she truly has power over are boys at her school. And so she's going to regain some power back in her own psyche, I guess, because these are easy targets. These are people that she can easily gain her confidence from. Needy tells Chip that he shouldn't go to the homecoming dance. She knows that it's going to be fertile killing ground for Jennifer, so she wants to keep Chip safe. So she tells him they're not going. He still wants to go, though. And Needy goes so that she can watch out for Jennifer and make sure she doesn't kill anybody else. Jennifer kind of intercepts this plan, though, because she finds Chip while he's on his way to the homecoming and tells him, basically lies to him and tells him some bullshit about Needy, and she starts seducing him, and it works, and he's kissing her, and she says, "Tell me I'm better than Needy." Let's just keep going. She has this competition going with Needy. I think there's just this weird codependent relationship here that's happening with them. And she needs to get validation from all the healthy relationships that Needy has, because Jennifer doesn't have any. And it's what's the best way to prove to yourself that you're the best and that you're worthy and that, you know, you're valuable. Jennifer finds this weird pool castle. I don't know what it is. It's like a big abandoned pool castle. And she takes Chip there, and while Needy is at the dance, she has one of those visions that she has, and she knows where they are, and she knows Jennifer's going to go after Chip. So she runs there at high speed. She gets there, but she's too late, and Jennifer's already been chowing down on Chip's neck. They have some words. Then we have this.
Why do you need him? Huh? You could have anybody that you want, Jennifer. So, why Chip? Is it because you're just really insecure?
I am not insecure, Needy. God, that's a joke. How could I ever be insecure? I was the snowflake queen.
Yeah. 2 years ago when you were socially relevant.
I am still socially relevant.
And when you didn't need laxatives to stay skinny.
Now, I think that this whole interaction really says a lot about what we haven't known is we've assumed that Jennifer is like a highest ranking on the totem pole at school and in their little collective group of peers because she's so beautiful. Now, I think that the things that Needy says here actually imply that her social ranking is decreasing. The way that she talks about how, yeah, you were Snowflake Queen 2 years ago when you were socially relevant, that clearly affects Jennifer's disposition in an angry way. And then Needy puts the final nail in the coffin where she mentions that she has to have laxatives to stay skinny. And that really fucking takes Jennifer off. So clearly she's insecure. And even when Needy brings it up, she's like, yeah, what a joke. How could I be insecure? Which sounds like weaponized insecurity. And it's because she doesn't have an identity outside of being hot and being sexualized. And that's another tragedy in and of itself. So they're going back and forth. Chip ultimately shish kebabs Jennifer to stop her from attacking Needy. It doesn't do really anything. She can't really be killed. So Needy and Chip are having their little heart-to-heart. Chip's dying. So Chip dies. And now Needy is out for revenge. This whole thing has come to a head. And so then we go back to the original scene of Jennifer in her house eating her hair, watching tight bun workouts. And we see Needy's face in the window, and we pick up from there. Needy gets in the house, and she is trying to kill Jennifer. They wrestle around for a little bit. There's a fight. Ultimately, the thing that makes Jennifer stop is Needy rips off their BFF necklaces. Now, these necklaces have been a common thing throughout the whole movie. They've mentioned it several times. They've done close-up shots on the necklaces, the BFF necklaces. And so, ultimately, when Needy pulls that necklace off, I believe that sandbox bond that they had, the only real relationship that Jennifer has in her life is with Needy. Now, whether Jennifer is in love with Needy or not, I don't really know. I have my opinions about that, and we'll get to that. But ultimately, the severing of that relationship and that bond is the thing that just guts Jennifer. And she just falls down. She stops levitating. And Needy's able to stab her in the chest. And Jennifer says, "My tit." And Needy says, "No, your heart." And there's actually a pretty interesting interview with Diablo Cody, the maker of this movie, who was talking about how that line right there says everything about the movie that she wanted it to say. Jennifer is sexualizing herself because that is what society has, the position that they have put her in. She's lived so long in this persona that she has to make some sort of sexualized remark about herself, even in this moment. And Needy says, "No, your heart." So the whole time, basically, Diablo Cody is trying to show people Jennifer's heart, and they just see Jennifer's tits. Right as Jennifer is being stabbed and dying, her mom walks in. The only time we ever see her mom in this movie, her mom is very absent. Obviously, she sees Needy is the one who did it, so that's why Needy goes away to the mental hospital / prison. They've put her in solitary confinement because she is the kicker. During this whole battle with Jennifer on the bed at the end, she did get bitten or scratched or something by Jennifer. And so Needy is in solitary, and now we continue with her voiceover. She says, what a lot of people don't know about demons is that if you are bitten by a demon and survive, you may just regain some of their powers. And we see her levitating up. She busts out of the prison, and she is hitchhiking on the side of the road. Somebody picks her up, and they say, "Where are you heading to?" And she goes, "Oh, this band's concert, Low Shoulder." And they said, "Oh, and they must be a pretty good band if you're going all that way." And she says, "Well, this is their last show." And that's where the movie ends. We do get some post-credit scenes, like throughout the credits, where video footage and pictures where she is arriving to the hotel that the band is in, and she is killing them one by one savagely. And so we know that they finally got their comeuppance, and Needy finally settled the score that killed Jennifer. And that's the end of the movie. It's obvious that there's a very clear codependent relationship here, but let's kind of explore it a little bit more. I do believe that there is a romantic connection between these two characters that they themselves have not necessarily sussed out yet. I do think that sexuality is on a spectrum. I think that there is a big case for them both being bisexual in this movie. And I know, like, there's the line where Jennifer says, I go both ways. And a lot of people, fans of the movie, will point to that as confirmation that Jennifer is bisexual. But in my opinion, it's really more of just a tagline, gimmicky thing for the movie. Like, there's a lot of cheesy, gimmicky lines in this that aren't necessarily to be taken seriously. But, I don't know. You know, I do think that they are into each other at a certain degree. And I do think that Jennifer is so deep down bored and tired of being sexualized by men, and that the only relationship that she has in her life that is valuable to her, where she's not necessarily made to feel that way, is with Needy. And I think that does play into this a lot. Her sexuality feels like a defense mechanism masking insecurity. I'll be what you insist I am because I don't want to show you who I really am. That's why Jennifer feels so surface level, because we never actually get to know who Jennifer is. She's just playing this kind of vapid character that people insist she is because of her body. She's insecure about who she really is, so she just uses that kind of as a front, as a wall to keep people away. And I think that is really like the truth to her character. Now, as far as Jennifer going after the boys that Needy likes, and for example, Colin and Chip. Now, she didn't have to do this at all, but I think that she felt Needy pulling back from her and panicked and freaked out and had to regain Needy's full attention in some way, while also validating that she is worthy, that people value her. It's all about Needy at the end of the day. The marketing of this movie, very interesting, because it's very clear that the movie that Diablo Cody was trying to make was, kind of has a feminist message. It was written by a female. It was directed by a female. It's a very female positive movie. But the time that it was released, it was just very underappreciated. And they marketed it in a way that was for the male gaze, which this movie really isn't. I think it's more for the girls. I mean, obviously men can enjoy it too, but it's not the movie that the posters made it out to be. We see these posters where she looks like she's a sexy schoolgirl, or there's some sort of a sexy teacher, or she's a cheerleader that, it's not very clear. They really did not market this movie the way that they needed to. And I think that it's become a cult classic in the last couple of years. And I think that as time goes on, it'll keep gaining in popularity. And I think that, the generation below me and below them will champion this movie in the years to come. I do think it is a shame that the marketing went the way it did, and obviously the reason that it went the way it did is because Jennifer, you get Megan Fox as the star of your movie. Okay, at the time she was the hottest woman in the world. Everybody was talking about how hot Megan Fox was. Okay, she was the it girl of the time, and she was very sexualized. And the marketing team took that and ran with the movie and put the make-out scene in it because they thought that was going to put butts in seats. And the target demographic that they were going for was that 18 to 24 male demographic, and they should have gone another direction with it. It's just also kind of ironic that the reason that the movie failed to succeed is because of Jennifer's body. It's because of Megan Fox's hotness. The target demographic of this movie would actually be, I would think, women. And women saw the trailer for this movie and saw the poster and all of the things for it and said, nah, no thank you. I think if they had actually known what this movie was, it would have been a lot more successful. Also, I just want to mention the music in this movie. It's fantastic. It is such a sign of the times. I remember seeing this movie in the theater and I just wanted to buy the soundtrack immediately. I think that's all for Jennifer's Body today. I would give it 10 out of 10. I think it's a perfect movie. I rewatch it all the time because it is fun to watch. It's bright and it's fun and it's funny and there's eye candy in it, which, you know, say what you will about all the stuff about, but Megan Fox is fun to look at. Okay? She just is. And I won't apologize for that. I won't. So, until next time on Age Lotus Horror, bye!